Hey guys, this is Brian at OBEDIA, and today we're going to talk about using Elastic Audio in Pro Tools. Elastic Audio will allow you to take loops into your Pro Tools session and have them immediately conform to the tempo of your Pro Tools session, making it a lot easier to work with a click and record over those loops and various things like that. So I have my Pro Tools session opened up here, and all I've done is create a click track for myself. So I've got that click, and I'm working at 120 beats per minute, and what I want is to bring some loops into this session and have them conform to 120 beats per minute. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple new tracks. I'm going to go into the new tracks dialog here and create two new stereo audio tracks, but I'm going to select in the track time base pull down here, I'm going to select ticks. So this is going to create tracks that will work in ticks, which will allow Pro Tools to apply its Elastic Audio properties and its Elastic Audio engine to the audio that is on these tracks. So I'll go ahead and create these. Now I've got these two audio tracks ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my browser workspace. So I'm going to click on Window and select Workspace, and this gives me my workspace, which shows me all the hard drives that are on my system. So now I'm going to go ahead and browse and find some samples to bring into my Pro Tools session. So now I have a loops browser opened here on my Pro Tools session, and I have all of these various bass loops that are on my system. And if I click on the speaker next to one of these bass loops, it's going to preview that file, and I'm going to be able to hear it playing back. But before I do that, there's one other thing I want to do, and that is I want to enable this button right here in the top of this browser. This button enables the Elastic Audio engine, and it's going to force these loops to conform to the session tempo that I am working in my current Pro Tools session. So that means that Pro Tools is now going to apply its Elastic Audio engine to these loops as I preview them. It's going to do its best to make them keep in time with my tempo of 120 beats per minute. So now I can preview one of these loops by just clicking on the speaker. And if I haven't already previewed it, I'm going to get a waveform display of that loop right here for me to take a look and just see how that file might kind of look when I bring it into my session. So I can go through and I can select any loop that I would like here. I'm going to go ahead and just pick one. And when I found one, I can click it and drag it and drop it into my Pro Tools session and just drag it directly onto a track. As you can see now, it's been added to this track. So now I can go ahead and continue to browse around on my system and find some other loops. I'll find a drum loop. And when I found a drum loop that I like, again, I'm just going to click, drag, and drop it onto my Pro Tools session onto an empty track. After I've closed up the loop browser, I now have my loops added on to my Pro Tools tracks right here, and I can listen to them and see how they sound in conjunction with my click and see if the timing sounds correct on them. So I'll go ahead and just solo the drums only, and let's listen to that along with the click right now. That actually sounds pretty good, so Pro Tools has done a really good job of warping this file. Now we can tell that this file is warped by taking a look at the top right-hand corner of the audio clip right here, and we're going to see this little icon which denotes that this file has been warped to conform to the tempo of my Pro Tools project. So now I'll go ahead and unsolo the drums, and we'll listen to just the bass and the drums put together. Now, there's one other thing I can notice right here before I start to play this back, and that is this drum loop is twice as long as this bass loop. Well, that's very easy for me to fix. I can just select this drum loop, and then I can hold down Control and D, and this will duplicate the bass loop and make it as long as my drum loop. So now I can go ahead and start playback and see how these sound when they're put together. So that's pretty in time. Now I can test this by starting playback, and as I'm playing back, I can change my tempo. So you can hear now these loops are staying in time with my click track no matter what. Now, let's say I wanted to have a little fun with this bass loop. Now, it plays back at a relatively quick pace because it's a short loop, But what if I wanted to go ahead and drag this bass loop out over the entirety of my drum loop that I've got? Well, I can have a little fun with it by using time compression and expansion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the duplicate of this bass loop that I created. Now, if I have an array selected it for my trimmer tool, I can click and hold on my trimmer tool and select the option for TCE. This is time compression and expansion. So that is going to set my trimmer tool to the option of time compression and expansion. Now, when I move my trimmer to the edge of an audio file, I'm going to notice that it's going to give me the familiar bracket which denotes the trimmer tool. However, you're going to notice that there's a small clock icon in the middle of it. Now, if I click and drag this bass loop to match up with the end of my drum loop, this is going to cause the bass loop to be expanded and have its timing match up with the tempo of my Pro Tools session. It's going to play back differently, but I can have a little bit of fun with the timing of it by doing this. So let's play this back and see how it sounds. So that's kind of cool, actually, because it gives a little bit of a groove to things, and it doesn't sound like a normal loop that I would usually encounter. So this is a cool way that you can have a little bit of fun with your loops. You may not be crazy about the way that this sounds, and if that's the case, you can just easily use your time compression and expansion tool to make the bass loop go back to its original length, and then you can duplicate it again to match up with the size of the drums. And when you play back, again, it'll all be in time, thanks to the Elastic Audio Engine in Pro Tools. So you can see that this is a really quick and easy way to be able to take these loops and samples, have them conform to the tempo of your project, and now you would easily be able to keep your click track and record a guitar track or a vocal track or anything else over any of these loops that you're using. Additionally, any of the other loops that you were to start dragging and dropping into this project would immediately conform to the tempo, so it makes it really easy to quickly and easily just drag in these files and get to work having fun with some loops. As always, I hope that this has been useful to you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with me, brian@obedia.com, or find me on Twitter at twitter.com/OBEDIA tutor. Until next time, happy music making to you. Thanks for watching, and take care.